were you unfaithful?
Yes, I adored him. Yes, I was in love with him. But I was very let down.
It has been more than 20 years since Diana passed away, yet a shocking claim pulls her story back into the spotlight. This was not just a sudden DNA bombshell, but a planned attack. Why did Camilla collapse after the truth came out? And who is this secret love child? Join us as we uncover the secrets behind this revelation. A love that faded in silence. The marriage between Diana and Charles did not fall apart in one loud moment. It happened slowly, in quiet spaces that no one else could see. Their home, once filled with hope, became cold and distant. Dinners were no longer shared with laughter, but with silence that stretched too long. Conversations became short, careful, and empty. Even when they sat close, there was a strange distance between them. Diana began to feel like a guest in her own life, watching everything slip away without knowing how to stop it. As the days passed, another presence began to grow stronger. Camilla was not always seen, but she was always felt. Her influence moved quietly through decisions, through late calls, through moments when Charles seemed far away even while standing right there. Diana could sense it without needing proof. It was in the way Charles listened less, cared less, and slowly turned into someone she no longer recognized. The feeling was not sudden. It built up piece by piece until it became impossible to ignore. Diana tried to hold on at first. She gave her time, her effort, and her heart, hoping things would return to what they once were. But nothing changed. Instead, the silence grew heavier. The walls around her seemed to close in, and every attempt to fix things only made her feel more alone. She was not just losing her husband. She was losing the place where she felt safe. That quiet pain became her daily reality, one she carried with a soft smile that hid everything beneath it. The hardest part was not the distance. It was the feeling of being replaced without anyone saying it out loud. Camilla's role became clearer with time, not through open actions, but through the way everything shifted around her. Decisions were made without Diana, moments were shared without her. It was as if her place had already been taken, even though she was still there. That silent replacement hurt more than any argument ever could. It left her questioning her worth, her role, and her future. There came a point when Diana stopped expecting things to change, not because she wanted to give up, but because she had no strength left to fight something she could not control. The loneliness became deeper than anger. It was not loud or dramatic. It was quiet, steady, and heavy. She began to withdraw into herself, protecting what little she had left. Her world became smaller, not by choice, but by pain. In that silence, something inside her began to shift. She no longer looked at the marriage the same way. Instead of trying to fix it, she started to feel a different kind of need. A need for something real, something that belonged only to her, something that could not be taken away or shared. It was not about rebellion or revenge. It was about survival, about finding a piece of happiness in a life that no longer felt like her own. That quiet desire grew stronger each day. It stayed hidden beneath her calm appearance, but it was there, waiting for a moment, for a chance, for someone who could see her not as a title, but as a person. Someone who could bring back the warmth she had lost. But where would she find that kind of love? And when it finally came, would it heal her or change everything forever? A love that couldn't last. After the quiet pain that filled her marriage, Diana slowly found herself drawn towards something different. It did not come loudly or suddenly. It came gently, like a soft light breaking through a long, dark day. In James Hewitt, she found a kind of comfort she had been missing for so long. He listened to her in a way that felt real. He paid attention to her words, her feelings, and even her silence. With him, she did not feel like a role or a duty. She felt like a person again. Their connection grew in a quiet and careful way. Every meeting carried a sense of risk, yet it also carried warmth. For Diana, it felt like stepping outside a life that had become too tight, too controlled. Around him, she could breathe, she could smile without forcing it. The world felt softer, and for a moment, the heavy weight she carried seemed lighter. It was not just affection she found, it was a feeling of being seen and understood, something she had longed for in silence. But even in those sweet moments, there was a truth they could not escape. Their relationship lived in the shadows. It had to be hidden, protected, and carefully managed. Every step they took had to be measured. Every meeting had to remain secret. What once felt exciting slowly became tiring. The same secrecy that protected them also began to weaken them. It built a wall around their connection, making it harder for it to grow freely. As time passed, the pressure became stronger. Diana was not free to live openly, and James could not fully step into her world. Their lives were too different, and the gap between them could not be closed. What started as a safe escape began to feel uncertain. The warmth they shared was still there, but it was no longer enough to carry the weight of everything around them. The outside world, even when unseen, pressed in on them more and more. Their bond did not break in anger or loud conflict. Instead, it slowly lost its strength. The moments they once held onto began to fade, replaced by long pauses and unspoken thoughts. They both understood what was happening, even without saying it clearly. The connection that once brought comfort now carried a quiet sadness. It became clear that what they had could not last, no matter how much it once meant to them. When the end came, it was not dramatic. There were no harsh words or sudden actions. It was a gentle, painful drifting apart. A silence that grew between them until it became final. Diana was left with memories that felt both sweet and heavy. She had found something real, even if only for a short time. But now she had to let it go, just like so many other things in her life. Even after they separated, something remained unfinished. There were questions that stayed in the background, quiet but present. Moments that could not be fully explained, feelings that did not completely fade. It was as if their story had ended without closing properly, leaving space for doubt and wonder. That space would not stay empty forever. As Diana moved forward, she carried those hidden pieces with her. They stayed tucked away, unnoticed by most, but not gone. And over time, those quiet questions would begin to rise again, stronger than before. What really happened during those hidden moments? And could something from that past return in a way no one expected? The final romance. After the quiet ending of her past relationship, Diana stepped into a new chapter that felt very different from anything she had known before. When she met Dodi Fayed, everything seemed to move quickly, almost as if time itself had changed its pace. There was no slow build, no careful waiting. Instead, their connection felt immediate, filled with energy and emotion that did not hold back. For Diana, it was something fresh, something bold, something that pulled her out of the silence she had been living in. Their time together carried a strong sense of urgency. Every moment felt important, as if it needed to be lived fully before it slipped away. They spent time close to each other, sharing spaces where Diana could once again feel free, even if only for a short while. The calm, controlled world she had known was replaced with something more alive, more unpredictable. It was not perfect, but it was real in its own way. And for Diana, that feeling mattered more than anything else. There was also a deeper layer to their connection, one that was not fully seen from the outside. Behind closed doors, there were private conversations that no one else could hear. Small changes in Diana's behavior began to appear, quiet shifts that suggested something more was happening beneath the surface. She seemed lighter at times, more open. Yet there were also moments when she appeared thoughtful, as if carrying something unspoken within her. As their relationship continued, whispers began to form. They were not loud or clear, but they were there, moving quietly through circles that paid close attention. These whispers spoke of closeness, of plans, of possibilities that went beyond what was visible. Nothing was confirmed, yet nothing was fully denied. The mystery around them only grew stronger, adding another layer to a story that was already moving so quickly. Then came the night that would change everything. It arrived without warning, turning what seemed like another moment in time into something unforgettable. The crash happened suddenly, breaking through the quiet flow of events with force and confusion. What followed was chaos, filled with fear, movement, and a deep sense of shock that spread faster than anyone could understand. In one moment, everything had shifted beyond repair. The aftermath was heavy with unanswered questions. Details remained unclear, and the truth seemed to hide behind layers that were difficult to reach. What exactly happened that night became something people could not fully grasp. The more people tried to understand, the more uncertain it all seemed. The lack of clear answers left space for doubt. And in that space, new thoughts began to take shape. Among those thoughts, a rumor slowly began to rise. It did not start as a loud claim, but as a quiet idea that moved from one place to another. Some began to wonder if there was more to Diana's final days than anyone had known. They looked at the small details, the subtle changes, the private moments that had once seemed unimportant. Now, those same moments carried new meaning, raising questions that could not easily be ignored. This rumor did not fade away. Instead, it grew stronger over time, feeding on the mystery that surrounded everything. It connected past relationships with present events, creating a story that felt both possible and uncertain at the same time. The idea that something had been hidden, something not yet revealed, began to take hold in quiet discussions and careful thoughts. As the days moved forward, the weight of that night remained. Diana's final romance, filled with speed and intensity, had ended in a way no one expected. Yet even in that ending, something new had begun. A question that refused to rest. A possibility that lingered beneath the surface, waiting to be explored. What was truly hidden in those final days? And could that quiet rumor hold a truth that would change everything that came after? The marriage that rewrote history. Years passed, and time seemed to soften what once felt impossible. The relationship that had lived in quiet corners and hidden spaces was finally brought into the open. Camilla stepped beside Charles, no longer a distant figure, but a recognized partner. What had once been whispered was now official, sealed with formality and acceptance. It marked a turning point, one that changed how their story would be remembered. For the first time, there was no need to hide. The moment carried a sense of completion, as though a long journey had reached its end. Camilla took her place with calm strength, and Charles stood beside her with certainty. Everything appeared settled on the surface. The years of secrecy were behind them, replaced by a new chapter that promised stability. It seemed like the past had been left where it belonged, far away from the present they were now building together. But peace did not come as easily as expected. Beneath the calm surface, old memories remained alive. They did not fade with time. Instead, they waited quietly, holding their place until the moment was right. Diana's story, her presence in the questions left behind, began to return. Not as clear answers, but as echoes that refused to disappear. The past had not been erased. It had only been silent. Slowly, those echoes began to take shape. Rumors started to move again, passing from one voice to another. At first, they were soft and uncertain, easy to dismiss. But they did not stay that way. They grew stronger, carrying details that made people stop and listen. The focus turned to Diana's final days, to moments that had once been overlooked. People began to look closer, searching for meaning in things that once seemed small. Among those whispers, one idea stood out more than the rest. It suggested that Diana may have been pregnant before her death. The thought alone was enough to change everything. It added a new layer to a story already filled with emotion and mystery. Questions followed quickly behind. If it were true, what did it mean? And more importantly, what became of that possibility? The speculation did not stop there. It began to grow darker, reaching into areas that had once been left untouched. People started to wonder if there had been more than just a rumor. Could there have been a child? The idea felt distant at first, almost impossible. Yet the more it was discussed, the more it began to settle into the conversation as something that needed to be explored. Names that had once been part of Diana's past were pulled back into the present. James Hewitt became a central figure in these discussions. His connection to Diana, once seen as a closed chapter, was now being reopened in a new and unexpected way. People traced back their relationship, looking for signs, for moments that could support the growing claims. The past was no longer still. It was being examined piece by piece. As the rumors continued to build, they reached a point where they could no longer be ignored. The story had changed from a question into something much larger. It was no longer just about what might have happened. It was about what could still be hidden. The possibility that something had been kept secret all along began to take hold in a way that felt impossible to ignore. Then came the most shocking idea of all. It was not just that there may have been a child. It was the suggestion that the child already existed. This thought shifted everything. It turned a distant rumor into a living possibility. If true, it meant that the story was not over. It meant that something real, something hidden, could still be waiting to be discovered. This new claim brought a different kind of tension. It was no longer about the past alone. It was about the present and what it could reveal. The idea of a hidden child carried weight, not just because of what it meant, but because of what it could change. Every detail, every memory, every connection now seemed important in a new way. Could there truly be a child no one knew about? And if that child exists, who would be the first to step forward and reveal the truth? The child no one knew. The growing mystery soon divided into two powerful ideas, each pulling the story in a different direction. Some began to question Harry's place, pointing to his red hair and the small ways he seemed different. They whispered quietly, connecting their thoughts to Diana's past and her relationship with James Hewitt. To them, it felt like a simple answer to a complicated question, but not everyone agreed. Others pushed back, saying the truth might be far more complex than that. Instead of focusing on Harry, a second idea began to rise, darker and more unsettling. It suggested that Diana may have had another child entirely, one that no one had ever seen or spoken about openly. This was not just a rumor about identity. It was a story about something hidden, something carefully kept away from the world. The thought alone changed the tone of everything. It moved the conversation from doubt into something deeper, something that felt both shocking and strangely possible. This idea did not remain a quiet whisper for long. It began to grow, gathering attention as more details seemed to fall into place. People started to look beyond what was already known, searching for gaps, for moments that did not fully connect. The past, once thought to be clear, now appeared filled with spaces that could hold secrets. Each small detail added weight to the theory, making it harder to ignore. Then, just as the tension reached its peak, something unexpected happened. A young man stepped forward, bringing the rumor into a new and real form. He did not appear uncertain or hesitant. Instead, he spoke with a sense of purpose, claiming that he was the child that had been hidden for so long. His presence alone was enough to shift everything. What had once been only an idea was now standing in front of everyone, asking to be believed. His story was detailed and carefully told. He spoke about a life shaped by absence, by questions that never had clear answers. According to him, he had grown up without knowing the full truth of his identity, only discovering pieces over time. He described a past filled with secrecy, where important parts of his life had been kept out of reach. The way he spoke carried emotion, not loud or dramatic, but steady and deep, as if he had lived with it for years. There was something in his words that made people pause. It was not just what he said, but how he said it. The details he shared seemed too specific to ignore, yet too unexpected to fully accept. His story touched on themes of abandonment and hidden truth, creating a picture that felt both troubling and difficult to dismiss. The more he spoke, the more attention he gained, pulling the mystery into a sharper focus. As this unfolded, Camilla watched closely. Where others saw confusion, she saw a chance to act. To her, this was more than a rumor or a personal story. It was an opportunity to uncover something that could change how Diana was remembered. If the young man's claim held any truth, it could reshape everything. It could turn admiration into doubt and certainty into question. Camilla began to think beyond the surface. She understood that this moment could redefine the past in a way that had never been possible before. The idea of a hidden child was powerful, not just because of what it suggested, but because of what it could reveal. For her, it was no longer about curiosity. It became a focused intention to dig deeper, to test what was being said, and to bring out whatever truth lay beneath it. The young man's claim continued to spread, carrying with it both belief and doubt. Some were drawn to his story, seeing it as a missing piece finally coming into place. Others remained unsure, questioning how such a secret could have stayed hidden for so long. Would this young man's story stand the test of truth? Or would something even more unexpected be revealed when the search truly begins? War behind palace walls. The calm within the palace did not last. What once seemed like quiet stability began to shift as Camilla took action in a way no one expected. She did not move loudly or carelessly. Instead, her approach was careful, steady, and deeply focused. Behind closed doors, she began a quiet investigation, one that reached into places others were afraid to touch. It was not rushed. It was planned step by step, with a clear goal in mind. She started by revisiting records that had long been set aside. Old files, forgotten details, and past connections were brought back into focus. Nothing was dismissed. Every small piece was examined, every link carefully traced. The story of Diana's past was no longer treated as complete. Instead, it was opened again, as if it still held something waiting to be discovered. The deeper Camilla looked, the more determined she became. This search did not remain hidden for long. Slowly, her actions began to take shape through her words. She started making bold claims, ones that challenged the image Diana had left behind. She suggested that there was more to Diana's life than what people believed, that perhaps the truth was not as simple or as pure as it had been remembered. These claims were not made lightly. They carried weight, and they created tension that could not be ignored. As those claims spread, they reached someone who could not stay silent. William stepped forward, facing Camilla directly. The moment was serious, filled with emotion that had been building beneath the surface. He did not accept her actions. He did not accept the way she was reopening the past. With firm resolve, he challenged her, asking her to stop before things went too far. For him, this was not just about the truth. It was about protecting his mother's memory. But Camilla did not step back. She listened, but she did not change her course. What had started as a question had now become something much stronger. It was no longer about curiosity or quiet interest. It had turned into a mission, one she believed she had to complete. She was willing to face resistance, to push through doubt, and to continue searching no matter how difficult it became. The line had been crossed, and there was no turning back. With her focus clear, she moved to the next step. The young man who claimed to be Diana's hidden child became central to everything. His story needed proof, and Camilla was determined to find it. She arranged for a DNA test, ensuring that it would be handled carefully and privately. This was the moment where the claim would face reality. The test was not just about him. It was about the truth behind everything that had been said. Yet, even as she took this step, Camilla's thoughts went further. One test was not enough for her. The questions surrounding Harry had not faded, and she knew that leaving them unanswered would keep the story incomplete. Quietly, without drawing attention, she made another decision. It was one that carried even greater weight, one that could change everything if it revealed something unexpected. In complete secrecy, she arranged for a second DNA test. This one was not meant to be known. It was hidden, carefully planned, and carried out without public knowledge. The focus this time was Harry. The possibility that had been whispered for so long was now being tested in a way that could not be denied. If the results showed anything unusual, it would shake the very foundation of everything around them. As both tests moved forward, the tension within the palace grew heavier. Every step Camilla took brought her closer to an answer, but also closer to consequences she could not fully control. The past, once quiet, had now turned into something active, something that demanded resolution. There was no space left for uncertainty. The truth, whatever it might be, was coming. Camilla stood firm, holding on to her belief that the answers would justify everything she had done. But when the truth finally reveals itself, will it support everything she believed or destroy it completely? The truth that backfired. Camilla waited with a quiet confidence that did not show on the surface but ran deep within her. Every step she had taken, every line she had crossed, led to this moment. She believed the truth would finally stand with her. In her mind, at least one of the results would confirm what she had been saying all along. It felt certain, almost settled. After all the effort, the long search, and the risks she had taken, she prepared herself for a kind of victory that would change everything. The atmosphere around her felt still, as if time itself had slowed down. There was no noise, no distraction, only the weight of what was about to be revealed. She held on to the belief that this was the moment where everything would finally make sense. The questions that had driven her forward would be answered. The doubts would be cleared. The story she had built piece by piece would finally be complete. Then the results arrived. It did not happen in a loud or dramatic way. There was no warning, no sign to soften what was coming. The truth came quietly, but it carried a force that could not be avoided. The first result focused on the young man who had stepped forward with such certainty. His story, filled with detail and emotion, now faced the reality of proof, and in that single moment, everything changed. The The results showed that he was not the child of Diana and James Hewitt. The claim that had caused so much tension, so many questions, and so much attention fell apart instantly. There was no space for doubt, no room for interpretation. The answer was clear and final. The young man's story, once so powerful, could no longer stand. It faded quickly, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than before. But there was still another result to come. Camilla held on to a small piece of hope, believing that the second test would give her something to hold on to. The questions surrounding Harry had been strong, repeated again and again, and she had trusted that this would be where the truth would shift. If this result confirmed her suspicions, it would change everything. It would give meaning to everything she had done. Then the second result was revealed. It confirmed, without any doubt, that Harry was Charles's son. There was no uncertainty, no hidden detail waiting to be uncovered. The truth stood clear and complete. In that single moment, every idea Camilla had followed, every theory she had built, was gone. The path she had taken led to nothing. The answers she had searched for did not support her. Instead, they erased everything she had believed. The weight of it did not come slowly. It arrived all at once. Every action she had taken now stood in front of her, clear and undeniable. The investigation, the claims, the confrontation, the risks. She had pushed forward with certainty, never stopping to question what would happen if she was wrong. Now, there was no way to step back. The truth had spoken, and it had not chosen her side. The room around her seemed to close in, not with noise, but with the quiet force of realization. There was nothing left to prove, nothing left to search for. The mission that had driven her had reached its end, but not in the way she had expected. Instead of answers that supported her, she was left with the truth that she had gone too far. And then, in that overwhelming moment, she collapsed. It was not a collapse of the body alone, but of everything she had carried within her. The certainty, the belief, the control she had held so tightly slipped away. What remained was the full weight of what she had done and what it now meant. The truth had not just answered her questions, it had changed everything.